Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Paladin, I Choose You! That's right. I'm doing cheesy Pokemon gags this entire series, so you better lap it up. So today we're going to be talking about why you should choose the Paladin as your starter character. Whether you're in solo self-found or whether you are in a group, we're going to talk about why the Paladin could make a good character and why they might not. Ladder is a very rough place full of poor peasants that have absolutely no gold and no equipment. And we're all fighting for survival. Literally like the song, "Fighting for Survival." Literally, that's the whole gag with Ladder. So, what could you potentially do with a Paladin to make him survive? What is he bad at? And let's take it from there, shall we? So the first question we have to ask ourselves, as always, is the Paladin a highly gear-dependent character? Well, the answer is mostly he is. The Paladin does have a couple abilities which are not gear-based. Most notably is Holy Fire, Holy Freeze, Holy Shock, and Blessed Hammer. They're very, these are the only four abilities really that the Paladin has that do not require a massive amount of equipment to get good effect out of. If you are a solo self-found Paladin and you are running a Hammered in, you will generally have a pretty good time. You do need to get yourself equipment eventually, but you know, for the most part, you can struggle through. The same thing goes for the Holy Fire, Holy Freeze, and Holy Shock Paladins. They can tend to do very well for quite some time. Now, unfortunately, Holy Fire, Holy Freeze, and Holy Shock all kind of wane off toward the end of Nightmare difficulty. Once you get into Hell difficulty, they tend to not do very well unless you have good equipment. Same goes for the Hammered in. The Hammered in tends to struggle a little bit in Hell difficulty without some decent equipment. And thankfully, the Paladin has access to a lot of really easy to make equipment, most notably in the Paladin shields. So Paladin shields can come with a maximum of 45 to all resistances on them, and you can put in some very amazing rune words, from the lowliest of low Ancient's Pledge and Rhyme Shield to the highest of high Exile and Spirit shields. The Paladin can utilize some of the strongest and most defensive shields in the entire game, including one shield which, if you combine with a 45 all-res shield, can net you 115 all-res. That is Sanctuary Coco Mal. So if you happen to find a really nice 3-socket 45 all-res shield, you could potentially try and put yourself a very nice Coco Mal in there. And 115 all-res is something that you really have to think about, because it's going to pretty much fix all your resistances for a very long time so that you can utilize whatever piece of garbage equipment you want in the rest of your slots. And it makes it so that, in general, you're going to have a much easier time as you try and find the equipment that you will use for the rest of the game. Your best in slot equipment, shall we say. Now, there are a lot of different builds that you can do to get yourself through various zones. I would recommend Holy Fire as a starter build because it does tend to work extremely well in normal difficulty. You can generally do extremely well, I think, all the way up till Nightmare with Holy Fire. And once you hit Nightmare difficulty, Holy Fire tends to wane off a little bit, unless you have the equipment to support it. And usually in a fresh ladder start scenario, you don't. So keep that in mind. Now, another thing to consider is Paladin's group benefit. So Paladin can solo self-found fairly easily because they can utilize abilities that are not equipment based. But this does mean that they're going to have a little bit of an issue surviving. They do have to get a pretty good amount of defense and resistances to make sure that they're actually surviving while they're dishing out their damage. And in general, a good weapon goes a long way on a Paladin as well. So keep that in mind. When you get to Nightmare difficulty and you have a decent amount of equipment, you could usually swap over to Blessed Hammer if you need to or if you want to, and you can do fairly well with that. And as a group character, the Paladin does extremely well. The Paladin has auras that will cleanse, poisons, and curses. It has an aura that will help the group regenerate mana faster. He has an aura which will give everyone in the group a huge bonus to their resistances, as well as individual resistances, which are actually amazing to help out the group. And as you can see here, These auras actually say what they do now, which is which is pretty cool. They never actually said this before, by the way. So as you can see here, when they are passive, they give you a 10% bonus to your maximum cold resistance, and when they are active, they give you 20%, which is amazing. So as you can see here, I'm using 95% cold resistance on this particular skill, which is just absolutely great. These skills can come in super handy to help out your group in those clutch situations. Like for instance, if I was in hell difficulty and we were fighting our way toward Baal, and there were gloams in the throne room, I could switch over to resist lightning to give my group 95% lightning resistance and make our life a heck of a lot easier. Now, there are other abilities too, like for instance, we have Redemption, which can be utilized to remove corpses. If you're in a situation where you want to remove corpses from the battlefield, this is a fairly effective tool to do that with. You can also provide increased attack speed with Fanaticism. You can supply an uninterruptibility with Concentration. You can supply extra attack rating with Blessed Aim and extra damage with Might, Concentration, and Fanaticism. You can even apply Thorns to your Necromancer's army, which can be fairly useful in normal and nightmare difficulty. And on top of that, one of the best skills that the Paladin has, which is useful in groups, is the Conviction Aura. So as a group Paladin, if you were specifically going to be in a ladder group, Conviction is just absolutely amazing. I'm going to use an old term, amazeballs. It is absolutely amazeballs when it comes to helping your group. Any character in your group that does cold damage, fire damage, lightning damage, they are going to get a huge boon to the amount of damage that they output, because the way that Conviction works is it reduces the monster's resistance. So it can go as high as negative 150%, and it can actually break immunities. So you will come across a lightning immune monster who is immune to lightning. You can very often, more than often, break that lightning immunity. The only immunity that tends not to get broken on a regular basis is the cold resistance. And so cold characters tend to not get a huge benefit from Conviction in that regard. Sorceresses also have their own form of negative cold resistance, and this is also something that you have to keep in mind. But if you have a lightning or a fire sorceress on your team, if you have a cold hurricane druid, if you have a fire claw druid or a fire druid, or if there are any kind of elemental damage characters like a lightning trap assassin or a fire trap assassin or a even a vengeance paladin on the team, all of this will stack together. Of course, if you were going to run Conviction, you would probably be running vengeance, right? So, in general, the paladin has group potential of amazing capacity, and it's something that you have to think about when you are building your ladder team. And I even forgot one. Vigor. Vigor is the ability to make your entire group run faster, and decrease the amount of stamina drain. Early on in ladder, Vigor can be super useful because everybody's running out of stamina all the time. Nobody has enough points of vitality. That is what gives you your stamina bonus. And in general, Vigor can just be a super nice ability to toggle when it is necessary. And that's one of the really cool things about the Paladin, is that they have a lot of one-point wonders. You put 1 point into Vigor, it's absolutely great to help your group run faster. You put 1 point into Cleansing. You can use it to remove poisons and curses from your group. You put 1 point into Meditation, and you can use it to help your group regenerate faster. You put 1 point into each one of the resistances, or 1 point into Salvation, and you can help your group stay alive versus particular monsters that do really nasty damage for Elemental. You can increase the output with Thorns on your Necromancer's army. You can increase their damage and their attack speed of the Amazon, the Barbarian, the Necromancer, the Necromancer's army, the Assassin, whatever characters may need an increase in attack speed. All of this stuff can come in extremely handy for a build. You can actually make an entire party out of nothing but paladins and just demolish the entire game. If you can imagine in your mind, imagine a Vengeance Paladin running Conviction. And then imagine a Holy Freeze Paladin running Holy Freeze, and imagine a Holy Shock Paladin running Holy Shock, and then another Holy Fire Paladin running Holy Fire, and then you have another Zealodin, he's running Fanaticism, and then you have a Blessed Hammer Paladin who's running Concentration. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we still got 2 more. So we can also run a A Cleric Den, this is actually a real thing, by the way. A Cleric Den is a character who builds max prayer and then max meditation. And what happens is prayer synergizes with meditation and gives it the regeneration bonus. And so when you build meditation, you have 900% mana recovery rate combined with 35 life healed every 2 seconds. And then this person can usually do something else along with that, like for instance something like Fist of the Heavens or some of that nature. And then you've got meditation, and you still have room for one more aura. Somebody could be running Salvation, for instance, and you would literally have 8 auras running at the same time, and you can combine auras from your mercenaries as well. So you could have Defiance, Blessed Aim, maybe even Thorns from a mercenary, and other very, very nice effects. And all of this can come together very nicely to make a group which is quite honestly unkillable. When you get all of these auras together, when you get like Defiance, meditation, cleansing, fanaticism, concentration, the Holy Shock, Holy Freeze, Holy Fire, the Conviction, and all that really just all running together in the same area, it's just kind of laughable. We had a group similar to this in one of my live streams. It was literally a group of 8 paladins, and we went in there in the Ubers, and everybody used a different aura, and we literally just kind of laughed at how easy it was. And the next time we went in with the same group, we were just like, you know what, let's just charge in the middle and fight all 3 Ubers at the same time, because it's just too easy. And we did, and nobody even came close to dying, because we were just that broken OP with all of those auras running at the same time. There was literally nothing that they could do. And that's one of the amazing things about Paladin, is just his amazing group potential. Multiple Paladins literally almost multiplicatively get stronger because of their effects. When you have a Conviction Paladin who's running with a Holy Freeze Paladin, the Holy Freeze is making it much easier for the Conviction Paladin by slowing everything down, and the Conviction Paladin is making everything much easier for the Holy Freeze Paladin by reducing all the cold resistances. And if you have for instance, a Fanaticism Paladin added into the mix, the Fanaticism Paladin is getting the very nice negative defense off of the Conviction, and the Holy Freeze Paladin and the Vengeance Paladin are getting the very nice increased attack speed. And it all really just synergizes so very nicely. Now, as far as magic finding is concerned, this particular character does well when he magic finds as a Blessed Hammer Paladin. You can also magic find as a Holy Fire, Holy Freeze, or Holy Shock Paladin, because these are elemental damage abilities. They're not so restricted to your equipment. But I have noticed that Paladins tend to be very, very poor in the magic find department as far as the melee portions. So if you are a Smiter or a Zeal Paladin or a Vengeance Paladin, these tend to be sort of left to the wayside as far as magic find is concerned. Now, I do actually have a Theorycraft video coming up probably within the next week or two, revolving around the Cow King set, which is a very interesting set. They've buffed it up recently. They also have the ability to upgrade it now, so it doesn't have like terrible like defense. I think the whole Cow King set before it was upgraded had like a whole like 100 defense, and now I think when it's fully upgraded it's got like 2,000 or 3,000, which is pretty nice. And it also has a really nice bonus to magic find, gold find, and some very other nice effects, which I think could go very well on a magic find Zealer. And I have a kind of like a Theorycraft video, which I'm going to be coming up with for that. Hopefully I have that out before ladder launches, so that you guys can think about maybe making your own magic find Zealer. It's not going to be better than a magic find sorceress, so don't get me wrong, but it'll be fun. It'll be a fun change of pace, no doubt. Now, there are some other builds that you can do with the Paladin. Like, for instance, you can do a Smiter. Smiters are very good at single target damage and can very effectively take out Ubers at late game. Now, of course, late game is not really what you're worried about with ladder. With ladder, you're worried about that beginning. You're worried about that start. And later on, you can respec and you can turn your Paladin into a Smiter if that's what you'd like to do. But, it's not necessarily about that. What else can we talk about here when it comes to the Paladin? I feel like we've talked really nicely about the auras. We've talked about his group ability. One thing that we kind of didn't go over is his equipment. So Paladins don't really have a lot of really nice skills like the barbarian and the Amazon and stuff like that have. They don't have iron skin, which increases their defense, but they do have holy shield, which is definitely very, very useful to them, and it's something that you're going to want to consider getting if you do run paladin, no matter what kind of paladin you are. At least 1 point in holy shield is going to be very, very awesome for you. They don't have the natural resistances like Barbarian. They don't have critical strike or penetrate or any of these other abilities that are going to increase their resistances or their damage in many other ways. So they do tend to be extremely equipment based. They're going to need lots of equipment based around like, for instance, their shield, their weapon. They usually need a fairly good weapon if you want to be a melee paladin, like a Zeal paladin or something along those lines. In general, when it comes to Paladin, you're going to suffer on equipment early game. You're not going to have the equipment that you need, and as you get further and further into the game, you are going to have to cobble together whatever you can to make your character work. And I would recommend that you look into low-level rune words. Those are very, very effective for these characters. There are a lot of low-level rune words that you can make for a low-level paladin. Everything from strength and steel to rhyme and ancient's pledge, as well as things like stealth and smoke, and even something as simple as nadir. All of these low-level rune words can be very effective to help bring your paladin up to a level where he can effectively magic find and kill things that he might need to. Now, I do feel like that the Paladin might not be the best magic-finding character to start out with. A lot of people would say that a Necromancer or a Sorceress is definitely a better character as far as magic finding is concerned early on. But once you get your Paladin established, once he is correctly built, you can actually use him very well for magic finding as a Hammerdin. But in general, I do find that Paladins tend to be not the greatest magic finders if you want to be a melee character. So do keep that in mind as a consideration. Now, when it comes to special equipment, the scepters and stuff like that can actually be used by everybody. So if you actually do have a really nice scepter that drops on the ground that somebody wants to use, they'll use it. The Griswold's Redemption Catechus, or Caduceus, I believe is as actually it's supposed to be pronounced, can be used by anybody. So don't expect to be handed one of those for free. Now, the shields, on the other hand, are only for you. So whenever anybody finds a very specific Paladin shield in a group setting, there's a very good chance that you're going to be getting it. But do keep in mind that Paladin and Sorceress equipment tends to be very, very valuable early on, because Paladin and Sorceresses tend to be one of the main characters that people build in early ladder. So when someone finds a Griswold's Honor or a Herald of the Zakarum or something like that, they tend to go for relatively high trade values, because everybody who is playing a Paladin at that particular time is looking for that particular item. I mean, items like the Herald of Zakarum will literally fix most characters. Even something as simple as a Guardian Angel Templar coat, which can be extremely effective for a low-level Paladin to help get your resistances to the point where you're no longer in any kind of danger. The Guardian Angel Templar coat also is relatively sought after by other characters because of that huge plus to maximum resistance. If I want to make my character relatively tanky, Guardian Angel Templar coat is one of the easiest ways to do it. I do wish they would actually change Guardian Angel Templar coat to +1 to all skills instead of +1 Paladin. That way it could be utilized by everybody and not just the Paladin himself. I feel like I've covered the entire Paladin much quicker than I covered any of the other characters, and that's kind of sad. Let's go over a couple more things here, like for instance, Fist of the Heavens got a really big change. I believe it actually got quite a nice reduction in the casting delay, which makes it quite a lot more viable. If you wanted to build a Conviction / Fist of the Heavens Paladin. I'm not really sure if that would be a good starter character, but if you were in a group, I suppose you could probably make it work, and your group would certainly not they would not kick you out or anything. I mean, you would be running Conviction, which would be helping out the entire group, and even if you were lagging behind a little bit in terms of damage and functionality, the Conviction aura is probably going to more than make up for that, just simply by your very presence. Trust me when I say that I have run Conviction Paladins in a new ladder environment, and Conviction Paladins are absolutely amazing. You can literally change the course of an entire battle by your very presence. Literally, all you have to do is show up, and characters like Javazons that use massive amounts of lightning damage, or a sorceress who's using lightning or fire, are, generally just showing up to the battlefield literally changes the entire outcome of the battle, and everything dies amazingly fast, which is just great. So, do I think that the Paladin is a good starter character? Yes and no. I feel like the Paladin is a little bit more of a difficult choice. If you don't know how to play a Paladin, if you don't know how to build a Paladin, it may be a little bit difficult for you, especially because they tend to rely more on their equipment than other characters. The Hammerdin tends to be a lot more difficult to play early on in the game versus later on. Once you get at a higher level, once you get to in the 50 plus, like level 50 plus, Hammerdin becomes a lot easier because you can build hammers, the synergies, the auras. You can get relatively nice equipment, like Skin of the Viper Magi and things like that, and you can be well on your way to hitting the faster cast breakpoints and stuff. But before that, when you first start out, you can't even get to Blessed Hammer. You can't even get to Blessed Hammer until level 18. So you kind of have to build your character a certain way until you get to Blessed Hammer, and then you can respec and go back, or you can just kind of struggle through and hope things work out. But it's up to you. I've always liked Paladin. I never really enjoyed playing Hammerdin because I did think it was kind of boring. But in general, I do understand that Hammerdin is a very powerful spec. I tend to lean more toward the crazy stuff. Like I've built Vengeance Paladins, I've built Zeal Paladins, I've built a Fist of the Heavens Paladin before. I built Smiters. I have built many Hammerdins before. Don't think I haven't. I even built one way back in the day before it was popular, and it was garbage. I remember there was a time when Hammerdin was not exactly the greatest build in the world, and it didn't really quite function right. And that was before all the massive unique items came in with all the cool faster cast and all those other things that you can add in. And it's an interesting thing to see how it is evolved over the years. Yeah, there's really not a lot more to talk about with Paladin. I hope that I've given you at least some insight as far as, Paladins as a starter class. Do you want to choose Paladin as a starter class? I'd like to hear what you guys have to think of Paladins. Do you think it makes a bad starter class? Tell me down in the comments why you think it's a bad starter class. I am always interested to hear what you guys have to say. And as always, thanks for watching. And keep watching.